Alright, so let's talk about All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, which the title alone, like, I think is just a fun title, and I think this is a fun movie, and I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. The only thing I didn't really care for in this movie was that the pacing in this movie for me was really not super great. Like, I really felt the time in this movie, and it's weird. It's a slow burn, but it's not one that I loved. There's so many movies, horror movies especially, that have slow burns, but this one, the movie's fine, but I just feel like there's some really, for me, slow and, in a way, dull moments where it knocked it down a peg, but it's still a fine, like, horror movie. Like, it's really fine, it's fun, but besides the pacing, some of the pacing, and that's not a giant deal, but besides that, I think that everything else about this movie is fun. This movie is really fun and really interesting, and I like the fact that you start out with this girl, Mandy Lane, played by Amber Heard, which is a great choice to have this girl as the beautiful girl that everybody wants. Because this movie, it's funny because the movie acts really off in a way. Like, you could just see it as, oh, these guys everybody's fawning over Mandy Lane. But I like the fact that these characters, the guy characters especially, are looking at her like in more than a normal way of like liking her. Like it feels interesting in how off these characters are obsessed with her, and it's not, and it feels like it'd be like a normal thing where like a guy likes a girl and looks at her like that. But like in this, I feel like it's, at first when the movie started, like when I've seen it before, it seemed like there was something up with her, like not because she's attractive, but because there's something up with her that is really off. And I think that the movie does a good job at first of making it feel off. But I mean, you can interpret it as just these guys are fawning over her, but you can also, like, if you didn't see the movie in full, you can interpret it as there's something weird going on, and it might just be more than these guys fawning over. There might be something up with her. And I like the fact that they did kind of hide that and build it up through the movie. And it starts out where, like, there's this one guy, and I like how, this is going to be a spoiler video, by the way, I like how this guy, who's talking to the other guy on the top of the roof at the pool at that party, the guy's like, jump for her, she'll want you to jump into the pool. And that guy who's all drunk jumps in, and I like the fact that the guy who pushed him in forced him to, like, convince him to jump off the roof. I like that he's the killer, and they immediately give that away if you obviously look at that, like you can see this guy is kind of unhinged, and I like that you don't see him the rest of the movie until the end, so it's like, killer. But it didn't ruin it, in which it's like, oh, you know that's the killer, so it's going to be, like, not obvious, or it's going to be really obvious. But even though it was, I thought it was fun with this guy as the killer. And then we cut to 9 months later, and I just think it's funny how it quickly changes that quickly, which, I mean, it's fine. Movies do that all the time, those jumps. And Mandy Lane and all of her friends, like, they bring her along to this kind of farmhouse like area where they're just partying and having fun, and Mandy Lane is kind of just feeling like she shouldn't be there. And again, it builds on something's off with her. Like, it's so weird. Like, it's a good, like, weird vibe to it. Like, it's really strange. But then we get some really good kills, because after this starts to happen, where they're at this location, all these people start dying, of course, all the people with her. And I like the fact that I tried to focus this time watching it, like, is Mandy Lane, like, the killer? Or, I mean, the first time I watched it, I was like, is Mandy Lane the killer? Because it could be that guy at the beginning, and it's obvious whenever you watch the end of the movie, it is the guy at the beginning, but Mandy Lane, I was like, is she with them too, with him too, or is she a killer too? But I like the fact that it does an okay job of, like, showing her, not showing her at a moment whenever the killer strikes, and then it shows her afterwards. So I think that's cool, and it does kind of a cool, like, mystery aspect of the movie, because the movie, like I said, does have an off weirdness to it. Just, like, overall, like, it's a really strange, but in a great way, though. It's a strange movie, but it works really well for me. And you get some good kills, but then the story to me just is kind of, like, boring, and I feel like it's just, I felt like there wasn't much to cling on to besides the Mandy Lane character, but whenever it focuses on the other characters who are, I know, there to be killed, like, obviously, it's a horror movie, a slasher movie, but these characters just didn't grip me at all, like, say, like, other horror movies, like, that are slashers where these characters are interesting and then they die. Like, these characters I didn't find interesting, unfortunately. But then, oh no, like, at the end you realize it's Emmett, of course, the guy, like, the guy at the beginning. And I thought it was funny how you realize that he's the killer, but then, like, you realize whenever he is, like, Mandy Lane comes out and says, like, we're gonna do it together. Like, we're gonna go and, like, we're gonna go and do this, but then she actually kills him, and then she's like, but I gotta graduate high school, or I gotta graduate first, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, that's fine, but I was just like, that's funny. But I thought that, like I said, like, it's fine, it's just not, it's not a movie I love. It's a fun horror movie, but it's just got moments where it's very slow to me, and not in a way where I enjoy it. Not like a slasher movie or a slow-built horror movie that I felt like worked. This didn't work as much in the pacing for me, but besides that, the characters are okay. The ones that get killed, Mandy Lane, I think, is interesting because it does keep this mystery to her. And I did like the fact that if you watch it more than once, like, you know Emmett's the killer, like, immediately, because he kind of motivates that guy to jump off of the roof to the pool. Like, I think that it's so obvious watching it again. I'm just like, wow, okay, that's cool. But overall I liked it, and I liked the song at the end. Why am I blanking on the name? But there's a song at the end credits. We'll look it up right now. But there's this great song that I really like, and it's an old classical song, but it works really well in the credits. Like, the credits with that song give it, again, another eerie feel to it. Like, it just makes the movie feel eerie and mysterious, even though you know the end of the movie, like, it's the credits. But this movie had such an interesting build and mystery to it, even though it didn't fully, like, give something like a great mystery. It was just like, oh, okay, she's in on it. Oh, Bobby Vinton, Sealed with a Kiss, that's what it is. That song is awesome. That was a great song for the ending credits. I really thought that was cool, and I love when horror movies have songs like this, because this song, out of this movie, out of a horror movie, it doesn't seem like it would be scary, but now listening to that song whenever I watch this movie, it's like, it makes it have a creepy vibe to it, and I like it more. Like, that's cool that they can make this Bobby Vinton song creepy like that. I mean, it's a cool way of interpreting music a different way whenever you watch it in a movie. Like, especially a lot of horror movies recently that I've seen that, like, have songs in them that, like, don't seem like they're supposed to be creepy, but then watching that movie, it sticks with you. Like The Strangers Pray at Night, which I thought did a great job with the music, where there were some awesome songs like Air Supply and Making Love Out of Nothing at All, where that song, not in context to the Strangers Pray at Night movie, it's like, it's a fine, great song, but listening to that with that movie in mind, like, it makes it better, because I just think it gives off a cool vibe on being in a horror movie and making it sound creepier even though it's not a creepy song. Like, I love that. So that Bobby Vinton song at the end of this movie is awesome. That was a cool ending credits song. So overall, just, like I said, pacing's not super great. The characters are okay, besides Mandy Lane, which I liked a lot. I liked that you knew who the killer was, and kind of immediately Emmett. Just watching it again, it was obvious. Overall, it's a fun slasher. It's just, it's just a slow burn in a way that I didn't enjoy. But overall, it's totally fine, and I enjoyed it a lot watching it again.